Business Connections Live, the UK's leading online business channel. This is Business Connections Live with Steve Hyland.
Well, hello there and welcome along. It is Business Connections Live. Great to have your company as always. Here we are. We're live on a Monday. We've got a cracking show lined up for you today. My guest on today's show is Clive Rich. We're going to be talking about an organisation called LawBite. More about that in just a few moments' time. But we're also going to be looking at Challenger Law, the next big thing. What do we mean by that? And what does it mean to you as an SME, as a small business owner? That's what we're going to be looking at today on this edition of Business Connections Live. Let's introduce our guest then. And it is Clive Rich. Clive, great to have your company with us today on the programme. Clive, great to have you with us. How are you today?
Yeah, good, thank you. Nice to be here.
Well, it's nice to have your company. Clive, we spoke to each other a long time back, didn't we? I think I interviewed you at a show in London. Things have changed. You're predominantly, in those days, you were a speaker, weren't you? And you were going into businesses and you were offering consultancy. Tell us a little bit more about what you're up to today.
Yeah, so I own a virtual law tech business called LawBite, the mission of which is to democratise the law for SMEs. And the idea is that through the platform, SMEs can access our 50 lawyers who cover everything from a start-up to exit, and they're all part of our own regulated law firm. And they can also access all our tech tools to instant message their lawyer and or use our app and manage their own client dashboard and upload or share or edit or e-sign documents. So all of that is designed to make law fast, affordable and understandable rather than slow, expensive and complicated, which is probably what SMEs have been used to in the past.
How unique a proposition is that for small SMEs and business owners and people like that? How unique a proposition is it?
Well, we believe there isn't a platform like this currently. There are versions of platforms that provide online legal documents. There are certainly organisations that try to connect clients with independent lawyers, so marketplace organisations, but there isn't anything that's got this workspace platform where you can do everything at once in your own online workspace with a lawyer from a regulated law firm, all driven by the latest technology and the latest thinking in data science. So that part of it is currently unique.
How unique then is the kind of service that you're providing, or different is it from, should we say, the more conventional offerings that you get out there at the moment? So, for instance, a lot of SMEs they'll have an individual problem and they're off down to their solicitors, down to their lawyers to have a chat with them. So, does this just make it more flexible and easier for them to actually get to the crux of the matter? And is it more cost effective as well?
Yeah, both, I think. So, generally speaking, if you make an inquiry through the platform or through live chat with us or by calling us, you're speaking to a lawyer within 2 hours. So we use our AI tools to connect the right client with the right lawyer, and generally you're having a free call with that lawyer within 2 hours. I mean, that's a step change, I think, from what most people would expect from perhaps dealing with their high street solicitor. And then once you've decided you want to go with that lawyer, you're working on a fixed price quote. Not all lawyers do that, and bill creep's a frequent complaint from SMEs who work with traditional law firms, and because our technology takes a lot of clutter out of the supply chain, we're normally half the price or less of the comparable lawyers in the sort of offline analog space. So there's quite a big difference in price as well.
How big a problem is it then for small businesses to get proper and good legal advice at the moment? Is it an issue, or is it, I mean, you obviously see this as an opportunity in the marketplace, but how difficult then is the need of small businesses, SMEs, entrepreneurs for this kind of service?
Well, I think there's two layers of that. So there's the general layer is that we've done some research through YouGov and the Centre for Economics and Business Research, which shows that SMEs lose £13.6 billion a year from failure to look after their commercial legal needs. Well, I completely understand why that happens. They're too busy, rushing around trying to launch new products or raise money or marketing or whatever they're doing, and the kind of essential commercial legal building blocks get either left to the end, or they'll try and busk it, or they'll try and find a precedent online on the internet instead. But those shortcuts end up causing them problems later on. So that's a generalised backdrop, which is pretty significant. And of course, in the current coronavirus crisis, that's only accentuated. There's all sorts of issues which SMEs are thinking about and concerned about.
Have you seen an increase while this crisis is going on at the moment?
Yeah, I mean, ironically, also
probably rushed off your feet at the moment.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's obviously a terrible thing for everybody, and I wouldn't wish it on any of us. But we are getting lots of inquiries, lots of traffic, because we can genuinely be helpful at this time, whether it's talking about employment issues or statutory sick pay, or contractual issues, people cancelling orders, deferring payments, liquidity problems, or the government's various programs which are designed to help people, and how those actually work.
Can you just talk us through the process very quickly? I mean, you've kind of touched on it. So, first of all, what kind of questions are people coming to you with? What's the most common questions? Is there a quick fix that they get? When they come to you, what is the process? Do they have to go to you physically? Is it a written documentation that they have to send to you? Or do you do an online interview very much like this one? What is the process to get the legal advice that they need?
Sure. So it's as simple as we can make it. So we drive all traffic to the platform. All our marketing drives traffic to the platform. When you're there, you can either submit a very simple online inquiry, or you can use our live chat function, talk to our client care team, or you can call us. We've got a dedicated number if you want to ring us, 0207 148 1066. And whichever route you choose, you'll be put through to a client care operator. We have a dedicated team who will help triage your inquiry, make sure we've got all the details we'll need, and as I say, they will pass it to one of the lawyers, the right lawyer for the right client. And generally speaking, you'll get a call within 2 hours by a lawyer who's been briefed on your matter and is expert in the area where you need some advice. So that's how it works. Generally speaking, we get lots of inquiries about commercial contracts, about HR matters, consultant contracts. We get lots of issues around disputes, SMEs falling out with each other or with bigger customers. We get quite a lot of issues around corporate matters, investment, shareholder agreements, that kind of thing, and some copyright work as well, or IP work generally, trademarks, for example, or design rights. All of that's been somewhat overlain by the current crisis. So lots of questions, as I say, about how coronavirus impacts businesses in the current moment, and what they can do to get out of it. And we give every potential client a free call from a lawyer in order to try and bottom out their issue. And sometimes that is enough to get them on the right track. And if they need more, then they get a fixed price quote before they have to do anything. So there's no risk really in having that free call with us. They can always stop there if they want.
All right. Well, we'll talk about some of the more typical problems that people are actually having out there, and why you think that's going to be the case, and also maybe things that are in particular at this particular moment with the crisis that we're going through. I mean, there are a lot of businesses that are furloughing their employees. They don't have the resources in place. We're still getting people are still approaching companies for access requests and things like that. And of course, it's getting advice from somebody like yourselves, which is going to resolve that for them. So hold the thought for a moment, and we'll come back and we'll have a bit more of a chat about that in just a second. Is that okay?
Of course. Thank you.
You're watching Business Connections Live. It's great to have your company. My guest on today's show is Clive Rich. We're talking about LawBite, and also how delivering those different services to businesses just like yours is going to be changing over the coming months and the coming years. And of course, the COVID-19, that could actually be a real game changer when it comes to the way that many businesses do actually deliver the different services that they provide to other organizations and the companies. I mean, the mere fact that so many people are now working from home does kind of make you think that, are there a need for those large offices any longer? So will it change the whole face of the corporate landscape? It's an interesting area, I think, and only time, of course, will tell. You're watching Business Connections Live. Great to have your company today. Steve Highland with you here. We are live, and we're, as always, we're battling the internet, but we'll get there. And I hope you're enjoying today's program. Let's go back a week now, shall we, to last week's program. And it was Lou Banks joined me from Rising Vibe, a really great show from Lou last week on the program. If you've missed the program, of course, you can go to our website, watch the entire show there in its entirety. But a really good show and some really good advice for businesses, because it's the pain of what's going on at the moment. A lot of people who are used to working in the corporate environment are finding this really difficult. They're stepping back for a moment. And here we all are working from small offices from home on our own, and only getting a little bit of social exercising when we go out. So is it affecting businesses, and what's the emotional pain that many employees are going through at the moment? With the key takeaways from last week's program, here's Lou Banks. My guest on today's show is Lou Banks. She's the founder and CEO of Rising Vibe Limited.
Okay, so I'm Lou. I am Lou Banks, founder of Rising Vibe. We're culture consultants, working with our clients from big corporates to small, medium enterprises to help them build and embed the culture that they want. Right now, things feel very different. And if I was going to summarize the conversation we've had, I would say that we have absolutely no control. We never do, by the way, of the external world. And right now that feels even more scary and intense than ever before. The only thing we can control is our internal world, which is what we're thinking and how we're feeling. With some focus and repetition and application of challenging the thought patterns that are not helping us, we can feel better. This is not about feeling positive. This is about feeling better and finding relief right now in this period. And if you want any help with that, you can download our scale from the website, drop us an email, and we can talk to you about how you can use that. It's a simple tool and it's very powerful. If you keep showing up with it, it's not a quick fix. And the other bit that I've talked about a lot that I guess I wasn't expecting to talk about so much was the only thing we can control is us. We can challenge and support other people to help themselves, but we can't make other people feel better or do anything differently, but we can encourage them. And if we are more able to get more control around our own emotional state, we are much more able and likely to influence others in a more helpful way.
Lou Banks from last week's edition of Business Connections Live, and a really good show. If you want to watch the entire program, of course, you can go to our website. If you're finding this kind of communication useful, and so many people now are doing different kind of podcasts and getting info out there to their individual clients, of course, you can always drop us an email if you'd like to be on the program yourself and maybe share some of your ideas. Just drop us an email to studio@businessconnectionslive.com, or better still, we're still answering the telephones. That's the beauty of digital systems. 01784 256 777, the telephone number. You can follow our stream of consciousness, of course, at BCL Business TV, but the best place to go is to our website at businessconnectionslive.com. lawbite.com. Just go along to the site. There's over 400 hours of great business advice there. And we've been doing this for a long time now. We really, there is going to be something there for absolutely everybody. That could be down to just going out and sales technique, to marketing and things like that. Everything is on that website, even to raising money for your organization and for your business. And now we've got COVID-19 advice on there as well. Just go to the website and you'll be able to find out more by simply doing that. You're watching Business Connections Live. Great to have your company on this lovely sunny afternoon. A bit overcast in London this morning, but looking rather radiant now. The sun has come out, so we'll all be sweltering while we're inside. My guest on today's show is Clive Rich, and we're talking about LawBite. Clive, it's lovely, as I said earlier on, to have you on the program today. He's the CEO and founder of LawBite. Lou was talking there a little bit about the about COVID-19 advice. Do you actually have advice as well for different businesses about COVID-19? What's the core thing? What's the key thing that businesses should remember at the moment, do you think?
Well, I suppose let's try and be optimistic for a moment, because the prevailing mood is so downbeat, isn't it? This will pass. And there'll be a future beyond this, awful moment. And I suppose my message would be to, hang in there if you can, because if you can, then you can come out of this and you can apply the lessons that this virus is teaching us. Then you could come out of it a better business and look forward to a better future. So trying to give a positive message rather than a negative one.
Well, as I was saying earlier on, I think it is going to change the whole face of the corporate establishments that are out there. There will be many large corporate companies who will have a second look now at the way that they actually operate in the future. And I suppose to a certain extent, that's the kind of thing that's going to benefit you at LawBite, isn't it?
Yeah, I think organisations are already asking themselves questions about using remote workforce, conducting themselves virtually, using communication platforms, providing services that are speedy, data-driven, affordable. These are all things that are sort of baked into our model as it happens, and you've got to think that out of this there'll be a trend in that direction, and talking to businesses in our sector and SMEs generally, you can pick up that that vibe in the kind of way people are communicating with each other and thinking about what comes next.
Let's talk a little bit about the way people should be preparing themselves when it comes to talking to LawBite. I think a lot of people, sometimes a problem will arise and they'll be thinking to themselves, okay, need to get on with this, need to get out there. And they tend to use a discussion process where they will sit down and they will talk the problem through, maybe with a lawyer or a barrister. Is it exactly the same way when it comes to using LawBite, or is there a process that they should go through to get ready to talk to you?
Well, we're used to talking to SMEs when the problem is live, the fire's already broken out, and they need some advice quickly, and that's absolutely fine. We're obviously equipped to deliver that. We encourage SMEs to avoid problems where they can, rather than waiting until the trouble starts. And we have tools to help them with that. We have an online legal health check, which you can carry out. It only takes about 10 minutes, and it will show you on a sort of red, amber, green basis where your hotspots are within the company, where your vulnerabilities might be, and you can then you can talk to a lawyer for free about your health check, and they can help you diagnose where you could avoid problems going forward. Ditto, we have a what we call an SME life cycle map, and that's a tool that sort of predicts, depending on where you are in your development, the kinds of law that we might expect you to have encountered or thought about by that stage, and that's often a useful navigation tool for SMEs as well. So it's about helping you think about these things before they become problems, rather than waiting until everything's going off and you're quite anxious about it.
It's interesting actually looking at the website, the different services that you operate. Business legal advice, of course, goes without saying, contract reviews, legal document templates as well, debt recovery, Brexit, GDPR, intellectual property, disputes resolutions and litigation, legal health check. I mean, there is a lot that you are covering on the website. There are a lot of different services. How do you go about selecting your lawyers and the barristers who represent you?
Well, we know where to find lawyers now because we've been trading over 4 years. There's about 160,000 lawyers in the UK, and actually a lot of them are as unhappy with the current model as customers are. So there's a lot of lawyers who, particularly associate lawyers who may be highly experienced but haven't made partner yet, and but they tend to do all the work in a law firm. So they sometimes resentful of the number of hours they work, the long commute, the fact they're probably unlikely to be a partner at any time soon, and our platform enables them to work remotely, work flexibly. We find all the inquiries for them. They don't have to find the work themselves. We fillet the inquiries through the client care team, so they don't get any sort of duff inquiries to deal with. All the work gets done through the platform. That's really easy. They don't have to do any timesheets. We insure them. We do all the billing and collection. So it's not actually that difficult at the moment to find lawyers who are sort of willing to make the switch, and they can still earn very well on our platform, but I think the lifestyle issues are highly beneficial for them. In fact, particularly for female lawyers. So we're about 70% of the lawyers are female, and I think our setup particularly suits, for example, mum lawyers working from home who may be incredibly experienced and very smart, but find this way of working more conducive to their current circumstances. So,
what kind of recourse then do people have? Because obviously there are times when you've got to push your lawyer forward. These are obviously all top of their game, self-motivated, driven individuals that you have on the platform, and that must be. I mean, that's really what you're buying into, isn't it? As a customer, when I come to LawBite.
Yeah, definitely. So we check their technical credentials, their references. We have an induction process, so they're comfortable using the platform and all its tools, so that customers can get the best out of that, and so can the lawyers. We also try and make sure they're user friendly. So they all have an interview where what we're looking for really is. Would I, if I was a customer, would I enjoy talking to this person on the phone? Some lawyers may not mean to, but they don't always have the best bedside manner. And SMEs, they might be bringing you issues that aren't enormous in the scheme of things, but those issues will be really important to them. It's their business, it's their baby, it's their livelihood, and we need lawyers who are empathetic to that, who don't sort of talk down to clients and don't talk in jargon.
Is that very difficult to find lawyers like that? Because I think the television profile, or the television, when we watch them on the TV, there does seem to be a certain arrogance, and of course they are normal human beings, aren't they?
Well, we look for those lawyers. They are out there. But you just have to look for them, and we support them. We have our own lawyer managers who support the lawyers on the platform, help them with their performance, help them get the best out of themselves, but also mentor them. And those issues around client care are as important to us as winning inquiries and orders. So we coach the lawyers in those skills as well as everything else in order to try and make that client care part of our DNA. And we have a 98% customer approval rating on FIFO, which is the gold star customer rating system used by Google. That's pretty unprecedented for a legal services offering. And we work very hard to make quality service part of the offering.
For business owners who may be worried about this, who are they actually dealing with? Are they dealing with LawBite, or are they dealing with the solicitor or the barrister? Who actually is the client that they're dealing with?
So the platform acts as an intermediary. The law firm, which is our law firm, is called Law Briefs. That's the regulated entity, but that sits on the platform. So all the lawyers are bolted into the platform. So effectively, LawBite does all the marketing, finds the inquiries, triages all the matters, and then puts the right client in front of the right lawyer. And then that's your contact as a customer going forward is that lawyer. But LawBite glues the whole process together, puts a big sort of bear hug around the whole process, and the client care team is available to both the client and the lawyer throughout the process of engagement to make sure nothing falls over or goes wrong.
Here's a question that's just come in. Are you receiving a lot of inquiries from SMEs who are tenants about where they stand with regard to paying rent at the moment? Are you getting those kind of inquiries coming through? And is there a quick answer, by the way?
Yeah, well, there's a lot of commercial customers on leases who now currently can't access their workspace. It would actually be against the government guidelines for them to do so. So, I think our initial advice in all these kinds of contingencies, first of all, talk to your supplier, because everybody's in something of the same boat here. With obligations they would rather not have to fulfill in whole or at all, and payments they'd rather not have to make in whole or at all, and so everybody's on both sides of that divide. So as a general rule, I think we found that if you talk to your supplier as a customer, there's generally a sort of practical conversation to have around deferment or postponement, or at least some sort of help, and that's probably the place to start. Rather than reaching for legal remedies. If you need legal remedies, then obviously we can talk about those and we can advise on those depending on the individual circumstances. But I think talking to people is a good place to start.
Another question for you right now. Do you think that big businesses will use the current crisis to review and amend contracts with small suppliers when we all get back to work? I mean, that's an interesting one, actually. Is there going to be some big changes out there, do you think, the way we all deal with each other?
Well, I suppose everyone will be wanting to, de-risk their proposition in some way with this kind of instance in mind. So I think I can see everybody wanting to review the way they conduct business, not just big customers. And I can see everybody thinking about insurance as well. Business interruption insurance, probably going to be more expensive now than
yes.
it used to be. But people will be thinking, well, what can I do to hedge against this in the future? Are there any sensible insurance policies I can take out that would make my life easier should a calamity like this befall us again?
And the danger is, of course, that it may well all happen again to us all, and that's the thing we just don't know, because you look back 5 weeks ago. Has it affected you as a business, because you're online anyway, and that's the way your business is operating? But has it impacted you as well, do you think?
Well, as I say, we're sort of used to working this way. So the lawyers work remotely anyway, and we're used to managing them remotely. And it's not a big leap for our staff to work from home managing the platform. So it's not had too much of an impact on us. And as I say, so far, there's a lot of inquiries coming in and lots of help we could still give customers. So everybody's busy. So at the moment, I haven't furloughed anybody because there's useful work for them to do. Also conscious that it's a fragile world out there, but you can only take it one day at a time. And so far, so good.
Be interesting to find out just how many jobs you are actually doing at the moment. We'll do that in just a few moments' time. We'll also go through some of the other key points that we need to raise on this edition of Business Connections Live. I'm finding it really interesting, and it is a very, very different way to working. And I'm just wondering if this kind of model is going to be the kind of thing that's going to be rolled out by a lot of organisations. You can have a think about that, and we'll talk about that in just a few moments' time. You're watching Business Connections Live. My guest on today's show is Clive Rich. It's great to have him with us today on the program. It's great to have your company as well. We're live here on this Monday afternoon, and it's good to know that you're watching. If you are working from home at the moment, if you're watching us on LinkedIn, please do send your messages in. Of course, you can do that on Facebook. You can also do it on YouTube as well. Okay, some more good advice right now. What about getting inside the mindset of people who are at work and selling still? Well, what is the mindset? Well, what should you be thinking about? Lee Ashton was on the program a couple of years ago. Lee's still very, very busy on the speaker network and going into organisations and businesses and trying to resolve their issues when it comes to increasing sales with her key takeaways. Here's Lee Ashton.
I'm Lee Ashton, an author, speaker, trainer and coach, and I help people sell more effectively. I help them to change the way that they think so that they feel a different engagement with sales. So if you are struggling with sales in any way, if you find sales challenging, if you never seem to get it right, the first place is to start is up here. I'm guessing that you probably know lots of the things that you should or could be doing and are just not doing them, and it's just about stepping outside your comfort zone. So the takeaways today really is to focus on the way that you feel about something and change that feeling to something more positive by changing the trigger thought that you think about it. I want you to know that you have to just take a few small steps outside your comfort zone in order to make a change, because if you carry on doing what you're doing and it's not working, nothing is going to change, no matter how brilliantly you get at what you're doing. And so when you think about taking that small step outside your comfort zone, that can be very scary. And a lot of people refer to that area outside your comfort zone as your terror zone. Well, actually, I'm going to let you into a secret. In between the comfort zone and the terror zone is a place called the learning zone. And in that zone, you are allowed to make as many mistakes as you like. You can get it wrong, you can fall over and scuff your knees, and it won't matter, because this is the place where you learn to do stuff. You learn to perfect it in a way that's right for you. You learn to develop your tools and techniques in a way that works perfectly for your personality. So step into that learning zone and practice so that you can make it so work for you. And remember, you haven't got to be anyone else but yourself. There's something that I say to all the people that come on my trainings or read my books. It's about being more of who you are. Never compare yourself to others, only to the you of yesterday. So if you have moved just a fraction closer to your goals each and every day, you're going in the right direction. And if there's anything that you need to support you, then find what it is. It might just be a buddy, it might be regular personal development. Do something every day. Be more of you.
Fantastic. Lee Ashton on a recent edition of Business Connections Live. Don't forget, you can go to the website if you want to actually see the entire program. Just go along to businessconnectionslive.com. You're watching Business Connections Live. My guest on today's show is Clive Rich, and we've been talking about LawBite and also about Challenger Law, the next big thing. Actually, when we talk about Challenger Law, Clive, what do we mean by Challenger Law? Because I don't think a lot of people understand that phrase. Sure.
Well, I think it's derived from the growth of fintech, so the modernization of the financial services world that probably most people are familiar with over the last few years, the way that services have moved online into the cloud, delivered mobile first, and deliver kind of ubiquitous services using data management, data science across international boundaries and on a sort of just for need basis, just giving customers, what they want when they want it. So if you think about the financial world, if you think about some of the challenger banks like Starling, Revolut, taking clutter out of the supply chain in financial services, providing services seamlessly, speedily, through technology, affordably. This is all part of the fintech revolution that's been going for some years, and I think the proposition must be that Challenger Law is next, and so and that will only be accelerated by what's going on now. So if you think about the way challenger banks function, you can see law going the same way. Remote delivery, virtual delivery, reliance on tech, affordability, speed, ease of access, no geographic or other boundaries. You can see that law firms that kind of develop that way, using technology tools, using data science, focusing on mobile, may be the ones who benefit ultimately from the current dramas and come out of it, stronger, leaner, fitter.
I'm just wondering, do you think traditional law firms are looking down the barrel at the moment? They must be very worried because this is a real disruptor into their existing market at the moment. Could it be a complete change in the whole legal way that we do business in the future?
Yeah, I think it will add impetus to that change. It's been happening anyway, but I've had calls from a couple of law firms already during this period saying, "Oh, you've got an interesting platform. Maybe we could license that from you." And I think there'll be more conversations like that with traditional law firms trying to think through those kind of workspace implications, work method implications, and how they're going to solve them. After all, at the end of the day, there's no reason why law shouldn't be as accessible as an Uber or a food delivery service or an Airbnb, and so law firms will have to think about how best to craft themselves so as to think that. I think there'll be lots of work out there still for lawyers, not least the fallout from the current crisis. I'm sure will create some.
Well, there's going to be a lot, isn't there? Because I think there will be a lot of disputes in the future.
Yeah, probably.
But everything from landlords all the way through to people supplying goods and them not arriving or them not needing them when they did arrive. It's going to be a very, very different landscape when this is all finished.
That's right. So I think the demand will be there, the need will be there. It's how you go about fulfilling it that might have changed.
When you talk to other law firms about this, obviously some of them are embracing it and they see the advantages of it. Are there some organisations, some law firms, who see you as a huge threat to their traditional business?
Yeah, I think that kind of schizophrenic view of LawBite is quite common. There's some fantastic law firms out there, but often, the partners might be of a slightly older, more experienced generation, and that doesn't really embrace technology in the same way as younger folk, and so they may be wishing all this change would go away, and finding it quite difficult to get to grips with, and they're more likely to view something like LawBite with suspicion. Other law firms who can see where the world is going, like what we're doing, and thinking about ways in which we could work together.
Well, another question that I meant to ask earlier on, the number of actual lawyers that you've got working with you on the platform, how many are there?
Yes, there's currently 50 lawyers covering every discipline from start-up to exit for an SME. And we are, going back to my optimistic view of the world that I mentioned earlier, we've just agreed a partnership with an international law firm to internationalise the platform and potentially get lawyers onto the platform from up to 70 countries around the world. So there will be hopefully many more than 50 in the months and years to come.
It sounds a fantastic platform. It sounds really, really intuitive as well. Really what I'm after right now, the key takeaways from today's programme, if I may be so bold. So if you don't mind, say who you are, where you're from, and then give us the key takeaways that people who would be coming to the platform, who they are, what they should expect, and how it's going to benefit them. So the airwaves are all yours, who you are and where you're from.
Okay, so we are LawBite. We take SMEs from law as they know it to law as they need it. We're a trusted destination for SMEs of all shapes and sizes, for expert legal advice from lawyers with an average of 15 years plus post-qualification experience. And we have a 98% customer approval rating on FIFO, which is the gold star customer rating system that Google uses. We've handled 26,000 inquiries from SMEs so far, which is a big number. We have over 50 lawyers available right now to deal with your issues. We have about 1,000 legal cases live on the platform at any one time. And what you can do with us is very easily get a 15-minute consultation free of charge from one of our expert lawyers by contacting us through the platform, by form or live chat or phone. And you then have to do nothing except listen to the advice you're getting, accept the fixed price quote if there's something of value for us to do and if you want to do it. And generally, because we've taken a lot of the clutter out of the supply chain, our lawyers are 50% or less of the cost of the comparable lawyers elsewhere. We do everything we can to make law affordable, understandable, and easy to access, rather than expensive, complicated and slow. And of course, we're here for you during the COVID crisis. So getting a lot of inquiries, probably 80% of our inquiries last week were about COVID-related issues. So we're here to help you if we can with all those questions around the government schemes, around employment, around statutory sick pay, around contracts, cancelled orders, and the like. So look forward to seeing you at LawBite, trying to democratise the law for SMEs.
Absolutely fantastic, and a terrific summary as well. If you want to go to the website, as Clive alluded to, you can go to the website here, from law as you know it to law as you need it. A comprehensive website gives you all the information there. You can see the Filio score, 4.9 out of 5, which is fantastic. A bit of an insight into what the website, the services are that they are offering as well. It allows you to be introduced to some of their experts who are online and can help. Another question that has come in, Clive, is the kind of turnaround that we're expecting on this. If somebody does approach you, how quickly will the service sort of kind of kick into action? Yeah,
so you'll get contacted by the client care team very quickly. Obviously instantly if you do live chat or you call, normally within an hour if you send a form in. And as I say, within 2 hours of your inquiry, normally in front of a lawyer, and then the duration from there depends on what the nature of the matter is and what you want to do. But you'll get if there's something useful for us to do, you'll get a fixed price quote shortly after the call, and then it's up to you really whether you want to proceed with that. But all the work takes place through the platform, and all of that is designed to make life speedy and friction free for you.
Now, before we finish today, we've been talking about LawBite for the past hour. We've barely talked about you at all, and I'm sure you like talking about yourself occasionally. The last time I met you, you were doing a lot of speaker work, and you were going out. What do you do individually these days? Is it all LawBite, or do you still go in and act as a consultant? Do you still do your speaking work?
I do a bit of negotiation work, which was my forte prior to LawBite. But LawBite is really the scalable proposition. The negotiating work is just a function of how much time I've got to do it. Whereas obviously LawBite, there are 50 lawyers or more, and it's the technology that's driving the business. So most of my time now is spent on LawBite, where I'm the chairman and CEO. I'm very lucky. I've recruited a very good operational management team around me who take the strain in relation to the day-to-day business. So I tend to focus on trying to sort of rainmake for the company. We're like any other SME, we're always looking for investment and partners. One of the ways that we get traffic to the site is through big distribution partnerships with other larger organisations who have an SME audience that needs our services. So we've signed agreements with Starling Bank and Hiscox and Revolut and the payments provider Stripe, and those partnerships are very important to us. We're starting to scale them up, and they enable us to get our message to lots of SMEs through wide and deep channels. So part of my role is to try and make sure we're in touch with those partners and crafting those partnerships to scale the business.
Another question for you right now. Do you think that the government can do more to help SMEs? What do you think?
Oh, sure. So there's a couple of big gaps that have emerged, haven't there, over the last week or so. So the interruption loans are not really for what I would call growth companies. So there are a lot of SMEs who are brilliant companies, but they're not what banks call viable. In other words, they're not making a trading profit right now. They might be on a trajectory to break even. They might be doing something really innovative and valuable. But in a traditional sense, a normal financial provider wouldn't qualify them for a loan. And there's a lot of static, isn't there, around business interruption loans. That process not really working at the moment because there's many more applications than approvals. And the government was moved on, I think, on Friday to issue some more guidance to try and unblock the blockage. But I don't know how well that's going to work. So there's more to do in that. Excuse the phone. Apart from that, the other gap, I think, is in relation to the self-employed. So the self-employed, it's apparent there's a problem because you can get help for your salary. If you are self-employed, you can get up to 80% of that covered, up to £50,000 worth of profits a year. However, if you take dividends as a self-employed person, you can't get any help.
And there he was. All of a sudden, he was gone. There we go. We seem to have lost our connection with Clive just at the moment, which is a dreadful shame. He was right in the middle there. He was fine fettle, and it was all looking very interesting. We'll see if we can just get Clive back again, if at all possible. Just 1 second, and just to show that we can do the whole thing live. Let's just see if Clive is still on the end of his Skype call there. I think that must have happened when the phone was taken up No answer yet, which is interesting, isn't it? Listen, it's been a really interesting program today. I hope you found today's program to be of interest to you. Don't forget, if you think it would be worth coming on the program for your own organisation or your own business, why don't you get in touch with us here at Business Connections Live? It's dead easy to do that. As I said earlier on, you can drop us an email to studio at businessconnectionslive.com. If you wish, you can pick the phone up and give us a call on 01784 256 777. You can always follow our stream of consciousness at BCL Business TV. And don't forget, you can go to the website as well, businessconnectionslive.com, where there's over 400 hours of great business advice. Listen, it's been a fantastic show today. Hope you've enjoyed the program. Thank you very much for joining us. My thanks as well to Clive Rich for joining us on the show today. And I think this is the future, isn't it? This is the future. Yes, there's going to be technological challenges for us in the future when it comes to what we're trying to achieve, the way broadband works, the fact that in some cases, we've got broadband that goes up and down in particular speeds. But ultimately, could this be the game changer? Could the COVID-19 be the thing that changes all of this? And we see business emerging from the other end of it, looking completely different from the way it's looking today. I mean, it's down to you and I. It's down to the SMEs, the entrepreneurs, the single business owners. Is this the way we're going to change our business outlook for the future? Who knows? Still some more months, I would imagine, of the lockdown going to be in place. Don't forget, Business Connections Live, we're going to be here every week. Not here next week because it's going to be Easter Sunday, but thank you very much indeed for watching the live program today. From all the team here at Business Connections Live, have yourself a really good week until we do it all again. From me, Steve Highland, bye for now. Bye-bye.
Business Connections Live, the UK's leading online business channel.